It has to be fairly slack. You don't want any tension in this thing. It should slip. If there's anything goes seriously wrong, it should start to slip. It may be a bit too slack, but I could just wind it round and a couple of times. So we wind that around once, like that. Test it out, and that's perfect. Look at that. So now we have a lot of that. Having such a long bow as this and very slack, it's a lot of movement there. But if it jams up, it can slip. So that's what you want. These whalebone ones are far too strong, and they're far too short.
What's yours made of?
This is a piece of cane, garden cane. I simply shaved it down. You can split garden canes.
Bamboo.
And then yes, basically bamboo. That's right. It's very good. I've used the same bow for 45 years. I made two at the time, or three. This is the ones I made, and I never used it because the one that I first made, even though it broke once, I put sellotape on it. It still works. Now I need to get the apron set up in such a way that I can't lose anything. So at this point, I need to have this underneath here. So if I can. I need a drawing pin or something.
The thing isn't a waste of time, is it?
Yeah, that's perfect. And there's some on this side, just to put the finger on that so it can't fall off. Good man. Right, there we are. So now I should be in a position to catch anything that falls. I just come across a little bit so that I'm more in the centre of my apron in case everything falls. Thank you. Notice how weak that is. It's very, very light. So flip that over, put it on one side. Now we've got the carrier, it just sticks out there, a piece of brass wire. I'm going to set this up so that the pivot iron, which is good, goes at the left, on my left, goes in the sort of fixed end, as it were, and the other pivot is going to rest on one of these beds here. Let me just move that forward until it just sits nicely on the bed. And the pivot has a parallel section and it has a cone. The parallel section sits on the bed. The cone must not sit on the bed. It's very important. You get an eyeglass. I don't use an eyeglass very often, but this is what I do. Make sure I advance that just perfectly so that the parallel section, and only the parallel section, sits on the bed. And that's absolutely perfectly set up. If anybody wants to get close and have a really good look, be my guest.
The section you're talking about is this side.
I'm sorry?
The cone section that must
yes,
not
the
be
cone
on the bed
section. That's right. It's over
there.
there. Yes. Because every balance pivot should have a parallel section, which is about 1 1/4 to 1 1/2 times its diameter in length. And I resharpened it a couple of times. To sharpen that, you stick emery paper, quite coarse emery paper, to a wooden board, and you rub it up and down just a few times, and it puts this grain on the surface, which you can hear it. That's the grain, which basically, it grabs the molecules in the surface of the steel and pushes them over and causes all the molecules to become stretched. It forms a skin, so the pivot is hardened on the outside and the skin is very highly polished, and it gives it a very wear-resistant surface. And this, being a good old one made by Vallorbe, G. Antoine Vallorbe, Swiss, it has one edge which is just sharp, and one edge which has a pivot file. Listen, and that's a file. It's got a very slight radius on that edge, which has file teeth, and the other one is smooth. So that has a radius on it, but it's smooth. I'm going to use the smooth one because I don't want to remove any metal from the corner. I just want to burnish what there is. So now I'm going to press that on the surface. If I move that, yeah, you can hear it. The wheel should move. It's not at the minute. It is sort of moving. I think I've got some pressure on it. Yeah, there it is. It's not moving very much. And now I'm going to advance this has a sort of screw handle. I can advance that carrier so it passes through the arm and just carries the wheel. So there it is. Now I counter move. As I pull down, I push. As I move up, I pull. I can feel the grinding action as I'm just burnishing over the surface, and the pivot cannot get any smaller than the size of the gap. Now that's a 12.5 pivot in a 12 gap, so it can't get any smaller than 12.
Do you think you're
whatever
removing material, or you just reshape?
I am removing a very tiny amount of material, yes, I am. But I'm reshaping and removing material. So if the pivot was previously tapering, it's now straight. Let's have a look at it.
Can it heat up or anything? Is there anything to avoid like that? Or
Not really. You should use a bit of lubrication. I forgot to do that. I tend to just use a bit of my greasy skin on it, which is sufficient. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the jewel, see how far it runs down the pivot. Previously it ran so that it barely showed on the top. See if I've made any progress. Should run down quite a long way. Just going to move across a little bit. It's very important that your apron is fixed to the bench, because if that balance drops, which it will do when you're a beginner, you will just damage the pivots. Let's have a look. No, not sufficient progress, I would say. It's about the same. So back to.
It's a lovely piece of kit, isn't it?
Beautifully made. Yes, Swiss do make good stuff, no doubt about it. Get one with the safe edge, yeah.
So this end is just resting in a slot.
Resting in a groove, that's right, yes. This method of polishing pivots has been used for at least 400 years. I don't think the hole is small enough. I think the pivot is barely being caught by the burnisher. Yes, I would say I need to go down. See, that's what happens. I need to go down one side. So I'm going to go down to 11. That's it. And now it'll definitely burnish it without a doubt. Just wiggle it forward. Don't damage the pivot when you do this. That's why I like to have both eyes on the job. It gives you binocular vision. That's it. Right, get the eyeglass. Once again, I want the entire flat section of the pivot supported, otherwise we'll break the pivot off. There it is. And this will make it one size smaller. It would do if it wasn't falling off. You shouldn't move the bow until you have the pressure on the top there. There we go. So now watch, I should be able to catch and spin it round. Yes, that's catching now. So now I'm definitely going to reduce the size of the pivot. So we go with that. I know what I'll do. I'll put it in my thumb and then turn it upside down onto it. Be very careful not to break the impulse jewel as well when you're doing this. Right, how far have we got so far? It's still not small enough, so